See this radiator core support, at first glance it looks pretty good, but if you look a little bit closer you'll notice down here on the bottom it's all rusted out. Now that's a pretty common thing you're going to see on your radiator core supports. I'm going to flip it around and get a better look. So you got your radiator right here, it's leaking. You got your battery right here. For whatever reason, it causes the rust to accelerate and it really eats this all out. Now, we do sell these brand new, and you can just order one and have it all sent to your house, but I'm going to show you how to save a little bit of money. These costs are going up these days, shipping, etc., etc., etc. So being able to do your own repairs at home is going to save you some money, and I'm here to help you with that. We've got this little patch panel right here from Brothers Trucks, and I'm going to show you how to cut out your old ugly metal and put in some nice, beautiful metal. So y'all stay tuned, you hear? Okay, so we really don't need any special tools other than maybe a welder to get this job done. You're just going to need an angle grinder with a cutting wheel, grinding wheel. You probably could do well with an 1/8 inch drill bit and then a larger drill bit or a spot weld cutter. I just forgot mine today, so I don't have it. So it's not really all that complicated. I'm just going to set this up here. I'm going to mark where it ends, and then I'm going to cut a little bit to this side. I'm going to take a little bit of time and I'm going to think about this because we've got multiple pieces of metal right here. I've got this piece right down here on the bottom that is not part of this. This is actually going to sit on that. If this is rusted out, this is going to be an easy repair. All I'd have to do is just get a piece of metal and weld it in, or 90 degrees, no big deal. When I take this out a little bit better, we'll get a better look at that and decide what we want to do. But we want to be sure what we're cutting out, what we're not cutting out. You'll also want to notice right here that this is a second piece of metal right here that is not attached to this one piece that rusts out commonly. So with all that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and mark everything. I'm going to find my spot welds. When it's this rusty, it's really difficult to find your spot weld, so we'll just get the grinder out and we'll grind down, and then usually wherever your divots are, your low spots are, that's going to be your spot weld. So then I'll just take an 1/8 inch drill bit and drill right in the center of that, so that when I go with my larger drill bit or I go with a spot weld cutter, it won't walk around on me. So give me a little bit of time to set this up and I'll start cutting into this and see what we got. So I just cut this piece off here so I can work in here a little bit easier. When I'm taking this out, I want to be kind of ginger about it because we don't want to do any damage to the surrounding metal. So I've got my low spots here, and I can kind of see where some of my spot welds are. So now I'll go ahead and gingerly try to remove those and see what kind of trouble this is going to give us or not. Okay, so really I should have had my spot weld cutter on that. This is not the easiest way to do it necessarily. The spot weld cutter is a little bit cleaner, but it just goes to show you there's more than one way to skin a cat when you're doing this. When I have to get more aggressive, which more than likely I'll need to do with this, I'll simply just cut out the mass and then gingerly take off my spot welded portions here. But I'll see if this is going to come off with it, all the metal being pretty thick and the spot welds are pretty beefy. So sometimes you get lucky and they'll just be so rusted that they just pop on off. And you want to do this nice and gentle like, because we don't want to do any damage to any of this metal underneath. So this is just going to take me a little bit of time. So with a combination of my cutting wheel, my drill, miscellaneous things, I'll go ahead and get this piece out of here. So give me a minute. So when you cut up a big piece like this, then what's left is just the smaller edging, and then this will be easier to take off. It weakens it up some. But it is going to take a minute. You see this piece right here? So this piece comes down, takes a 90, and then there is a nut that is welded onto the back of that. Now this piece is going to come with that, and that's because this is typically rusted away. So I'll be cutting the bottom of this support right off here, and then when I put this back in, I'll simply weld it up for a little more strength. And in the pocket right here behind this, it's a little bit more difficult to see and such, so that's where something like this is going to work in good. And what I'll typically do is just find my spot weld, and I'll simply grind down the spot weld to where it's weak enough to where it pops off. Then I'll cut the rest of the metal off, and then we'll be able to install this. So any minute now. All right, well that took a little bit of time. The pocket here is going to be the most time-consuming thing. So now I'll just clean this up some. I'll just grind down the remnants that are left over, and then I'll find something to arrest the rust. So there's a lot of different products out these days that will encapsulate the rust or null and void it in miscellaneous different ways. So you're going to go ahead and clean it up, wire wheel it, go ahead and paint it up, and then we're going to be ready to install our new piece. So 2 minutes, man. Cleaned it all up. I've shot some rust mort on there. It turns black, and then you can go ahead and shoot a top coat on there. When we shoot the top coat, we're going to be shooting a weldable paint on there so that it makes our welding easier. And we're going to be shooting this piece here, both sides, because once it's in, you're not going to be able to get to the back side. Now, I'm not going to do the whole thing, because once I get this fixed, I can take it to the blaster and get it painted and everything like that. Now, when I'm putting this in, usually it's very difficult to cut this edge here straight and nice and everything, so you'll probably have to do a little bit of trimming on this to be able to get this to snug up there just right. And then when you're clamping it together, you've got different ways of going about it. You got C-clamps. You need a little bit larger one for that section there though, but you can use it on the sides here. You can use these. They come in miscellaneous sizes, and clamp it on down. You can also just go ahead and drill holes right on through it and simply bolt them on up. And sometimes I like to do this just because I can get it in position better, and I can really get the metal nice and close together. So I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of trimming and get this piece on here just right. Then I'll show you some special welding I do to make sure it doesn't come back off again. So just get whatever clamping method you like and go ahead and clamp it down good. And then what we're going to be doing is we're going to be drilling 3/8 inch holes, and they're going to be mimicking the spot weld that used to be in there. So we're going to try to go through the first piece of metal halfway through the second piece of metal, not all the way through. If you do pop all the way through, it's not that big of a deal. Just go ahead and grind the residue on the opposite end. And so we're all set up here. I'm going to go ahead and drill my holes, and then I'll do my welds, and I'll show you a little trick on doing the weld too. So stay tuned. We're ready to weld, and what we're going to be doing is we want to mimic the spot welds that were there before by doing a rosetta weld. I'll show you what that is in a second here. But there was a couple of spot welds here. Down here it's going to be every 3 or 4 inches. Up here on top it's going to be every 3 or 4 inches. You got a couple right here on the end. So I'll drill those all out later, but I just want to show you how to do a rosetta weld first. So again, what we're doing is we're mimicking a spot weld from the factory. And what we're going to be doing doing is we have to make sure we drill through the first piece of metal and slightly through the second piece of metal. Again, if you punch all the way through, it's not a big deal. We got a welder. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making a pocket, so to speak, in that second piece of metal. And we really got to make sure we get a good weld started here before we weld the two pieces together and finish off the hole. A lot of times when you're doing this, you just get an inclination to fill in the hole, and that is going to fill in the hole, but the metal will separate. So we got to get a good weld started on the second piece of metal, the bottom piece of metal first. How we're going to do that is we're just going to do a couple of zots, zot, 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 and we're going to get a little BB in there in that pocket. Then we're going to hit it a little bit longer. That BB will melt into the bottom piece of metal. Then I can go ahead and fill up the hole, and we're going to be a good weld. So a little like this. So here you can see we got a little BB going. Now I'll melt that down. And then I'll do a little bit of a circular here. And that's it. So you can see that damn near looks factory. We don't have to sand it down or anything like that. We're all ready to go. After I get all my spot welds done, I'm going to go ahead and weld right here and right here. And I don't know, I might maybe put a weld on top just to get this more secure, but I'll see. So give me a little bit of time with this. I'll come back and I'll show you what it looks like all done. All right, so I'm all done. I cleaned it up a little bit here. Might finish it off a little bit more before I send it to the blaster. But you can see that these kind of repairs are doable. You don't have to go buy brand new stuff for the entire truck. You can repair things. And this is a good place to start too, because this does not have a high visibility area. Nobody's really going to look down here too much. You start doing door repairs and patch panel repairs, somebody's going to see. So start with something like this, get your feet wet, and then work your way on up. Save yourself on all the shipping costs, etc., etc. My name is David Welch. I'm here every single Tuesday because I know you can do it. You can fix your truck and get it back on the road. We are here to help you. You make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel or you are going to regret it. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon and for the rest of your life. My name is David Welch. I'll see you next Tuesday.